Hello, this video walks through completing Packet Tracer Assignment 8.3.3.5, configuring Basic OSPF version 3 in a single area. This lab is a part of the Routing Switching Essentials Cisco Network and Academy curriculum. Now in this lab, we are going to configure OSPF version 3, which was made to allow IP version 6 addressing information exchange. So OSPF version 2, which hopefully got a chance to do that lab previously in chapter 8, was for IP version 4. OSPF version 3 is for IP version 6. There are a couple differences. It is more similar to when we configured RIP-NG, next generation, where you just kind of set up the routing protocol and then you go to each individual interface to actually enable the routing. Okay. One note also, it says Packet Tracer, the 6th version, does not support the auto cost reference bandwidth command, so you will not need to adjust that in this activity. So if we go to R1, all right, to configure this, enable config T. First, we always need to enable IPv6 unicast routing, okay, to make sure our router can handle our IPv6 addressing. Now, you would want to also make sure that your interfaces are configured with the correct IPv6 addressing. They have already handled that for us before we even started this lab, so we are good to go there. If you wanted to check, you could do a show run, and you can see here we've got G00 configured, S00, S001, all with IPv6 information. So we're good to go there. Okay, so now we're going to do our IPv6 OSPF router OSPF10 command. Okay, that takes us into OSPF version 3, and we're going to set our router ID. Okay, and that is it. That's all we're going to do under the OSPF part. Okay, now we're going to go to each individual interface I said we had configured, and we're going to do OSPF IP version 6 OSPF, the process ID that we set, and area 0. Okay, now we're going to do that for every interface that we have connected that we want to participate in the updates, which was S000 and S001, and save that. Okay, so we actually set up we turn on IP version 6 unicast routing first. We go to IPv6 router OSPF, whatever process ID you choose here. Okay, we're just going to choose 10. We do the router ID, and then we exit out. We don't put our networks here like we did with the other one. We go to each individual interface, and we put IP version 6 OSPF 10 area 0, because we're still doing single area. We're going to do all area 0. A whole nother class is when we cover multi-area. Okay, so it's going to share each one of those networks with the other routers. Okay, now we're going to go to R2, pretty much repeat the same process of steps. Enable config T, IPv6 unicast routing. Now we're going to go to IPv6 router OSPF 10 router ID 2.2.2.2, exit out of there. Okay, and we need to go look at what are our interfaces here that we have: G00, S000, and S001. Never assume, always double check. Okay, so we do interface G00, IPv6 OSPF 10 area 0. Then we're going to go into the other ones, do the same command. Okay, and I'm going to do a copy run start. You see we are already forming neighbor adjacencies, which is a good sign. And then lastly on R3, IPv6 unicast routing, IPv6 OSPF router OSPF10, router ID, set that, and then interface G00, IPv6 OSPF10 area 0. We're going to do that for S000 and S001. Okay, and you start to see some neighbor adjacencies start to get formed. And then we're going to do a copy, run, start. Okay, so we've done that on each specific interface, so it'll share. Now, if we show our IP version 6 routes, show IPv6 route, okay, we see these networks that were learned by OSPF. Okay, and you'll see that on each router. So same thing here. And same thing here. Okay, with the O's for OSPF. And that gives us in our lab, we do a check results here, we've got everything we need. So 100 out of 100. So that takes care of this particular lab. Hopefully that helped you out to see the differences. This is more similar to RIP-NG than it is really to the previous OSPF configurations when dealing with IP version 6 addressing.